Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel, and I want to wish you a very happy Easter. And I hope it's a safe and wonderful place wherever you may be in the world. So what's this video about? Well, I am heading off on a road trip. Now this is going to be to one of my absolute favourite places, and that's Tasmania. Been there plenty of times in the past 4 or 5 years, as you well know if you follow my channel. The big difference in this particular trip though is I'm not taking my car. I'm flying over and I'm meeting up with a photography group and we're touring around. So my big problem is, what am I going to take? And the bigger problem than that is, what am I going to leave home? So I'm just going to quickly run through some of the stuff that I've decided that I am going to take. You might find it interesting, and I'm always interested actually to find out what you guys do when you go on such a trip. So I've got my bag here. This is a Low Pro BP 450. Not a huge bag, but it's good. It fits on the airplane. I can take it with me, and I can fit a lot in this bag. And you know, as I said, I've got to work out what I'm going to leave home, and that's going to be the hardest. So let's just have a look, see what I've got. Now I chose this particular bag because it isn't too big. And one of the things that I find often is that we just become too unmanageable. And so what I need is plenty of compartments, which you can see I've got in here. And I'll just drag out some of these bits and pieces that I've brought with me to show you. Now I did decide very early on in the piece that I was only going to be taking one camera body with me. Here it is, my Nikon Z6 Mark II, and fitted at the moment with the Nikon 24-70 f4 lens. And the reason I'm taking that lens is because that's an all-rounder for daytime use landscape photography, and we're going to be doing a fair bit of landscape photography, so I'm looking at that. But of course I would not leave home without taking the 20mm f1.8 lens. As you know, this is the lens that is my go-to for anything to do with Nightscape astro landscape photography. So that one is definitely coming with me. So there you have it. One camera body, 2 lenses, that's it. Apart from that, I've got 3 or 4 batteries, battery chargers and all that sort of thing. So, okay, that's the guts of it. That's the camera I'm taking, but what about all the rest of it? See, what I'm doing here is I'm actually taking more accessories by far than camera gear. And why is that? Well, one of the reasons is because this group that we're taking on tour, I've got lights and I've got remote triggers, I've got head torches, I've got USB cables, I've got all sorts of things there because I don't know what everyone else might need some assistance with. And so I'm taking a lot more extra gear than perhaps I would if it was just me, or I would take other gear. Now the big difference in this trip is that I'm not taking any video equipment. Yeah, I'm sorry. That means I'm not able to make any videos whilst I'm down in Tasmania, but the reason for that is because it's not for me this trip. I'm going there to help other people and be with other people. So one of the other things that I do have to consider is tripods. Now I've got my Sarui tripod here which I use. It's a good tripod, lightweight, and typically this is the one I would use for just tripod mounted photography. And so, and it's a good, I've had it for years, it's really good. The other one that is an option is this Art Size AS80C. Slightly heavier than the other one, but it has a couple of advantages. Firstly, it's got a leveling bowl head, so that means I can it's much easier to shoot panoramas with this one because you can level the actual tripod center. This one's just got a standard ball head on top. You know, I've been getting along okay with that for years, but I must admit these are fantastic. Now I use these all the time with my star trackers. Speaking of star trackers, am I taking a star tracker with me? No. Where am I going to fit that in the bag? No. Look, if I had something really small and compact, maybe, it's only a maybe, but there's a lot of faffing around with trackers. I'm just going to go on the tripod because, you know, you can get some fantastic images without a star tracker, and lots of people are going to say, oh, no, of course you can't. Well, of course you can. The other thing I'm not taking is an astro modified camera. What? Shock horror. This is my standard camera. I'm not taking the Astro modded camera. So a lot of you are thinking, well, what's this bloke on about? He's got all this gear and he's not taking it. Well, you know, it's not just all about me for this experience. And the other thing is, I think it's good to be able to go to these things and just have basic equipment and see what it is that you can capture. Because let's face it, a lot of this is all about the creativity, learning to be able to see and visualize and compose. And that's a big part of what this trip is going to be all about. Now in my shed here, as you can see, I've got shelving here set up with all sorts of gear. There's trackers and brackets and chairs and seats and more tracker bits and pieces. Oh, I've got them coming out my ears, tripods, chargers, jet boils, the whole lot up here. Now in this cupboard here, I've got flashes and all sorts of things. Now you'll notice here I've got some Z96 video lights. I use these for a lot of things, but that is not coming on this trip because it's just too big and heavy. Instead, I'm just bringing these small ones, the little Ulanzi lights, because these are nice little LED panels and they do a fantastic job, and I can carry these in my pocket. They are just so small. So this is just the newer technology of lights. I'm going to be taking quite a few of those to use as low-level lights or whatever other use I can find for them down in Tassie. Okay, so apart from all of that, my torches, I've got two. I've got backup for everything because I think I'm going to possibly need longer duration. Definitely a head torch, which you can see there, my standard one that I always take everywhere with me. I've got plenty of remote controlled devices here. You can see them there. I really only need two probably, but I'll take four because sometimes these things run out of batteries or something out in the field, and I could very possibly need them at a moment's notice. Now, gloves, these are just my standard little, fairly light duty because they can just throw in a bag anywhere. Now, this is a little bag full of tricks, basically Allen keys, screws, screwdrivers, little extra tripod mounts, things like that. I may not need them, but they don't take up much room. I can just put them anywhere in the bag. Now, here's another thing that, a couple of things in here that I think you might find handy. Firstly, I've got a little clamp and a Velcro strap. Now, you've seen me use these in the past. These are so handy sometimes. You just never know when something like that might come in handy and you need something to attach, maybe strengthen the tripod leg or something like that. Here's another one, just a little bit of Velcro strip. It's just a small, these are the 1%ers, but things that I might need and they don't take up any room, they don't weigh anything because I've got to keep all this under 7.5 kilograms for the aeroplane. Oh, I do have a few filters in here. Now, I'm not a big landscape photographer, but I do have a couple of screw-on, there's a polarizing filter and there's a neutral density filter. There's a 10-stop. So I've got some of those which I'll take with me. So that's all good. And oh, here, this is an interesting thing. What I've got here is a whole heap of light duty, really light duty shower caps. You think, what on earth am I doing with shower caps? Well, these go over the lenses. And so if I'm out in the middle of nowhere and it's starting to rain, I can cover my cameras and lenses with light duty shower caps. I can throw them away later on if they tear or whatever, because they don't weigh much and they're certainly cheap. Here's another thing that I would not be without. This is my Garmin GPS locator beam, emergency beacon. So if I've got that with me, even if I'm out of phone range, I can still contact emergency services. The other thing I've got here is some more shower caps, lens cloths, cleaning the camera. All of this stuff weighs almost nothing. I mentioned before USB cables. Now, I'm going to take a suitcase as well, and there'll be a lot more room in that for things like USB chargers and so forth, but I do always carry a few of these with me. Why is that? Because I'm always taking power back. That's another thing, because I've got a lens warmer somewhere here. So I need power to supply to that. And there are occasions sometimes when I might want to power my camera as well, but perhaps I want to set up a time lapse. So I can use a little power bank like this. Once again, these have to travel in my carry-on. I can't put these in my suitcase, so batteries and power banks have got to come inside this bag. So that's where I've got to be a bit careful with weight, because these things are pretty heavy. But apart from that, that's pretty much all. I've got a few other batteries in here, in the pouch. I will be taking my computer with me, and that's going to be in a separate bag. Now, one thing I did forget to mention was this tiny little torch. This is only a new addition to my kit bag, and I use this for subjects that are really small and don't require much lighting, but I do use this quite a lot. And of course, being so light, I could take 100 of these and you'd hardly notice they were even in your bag. All right, so there we go. Hey, that's not too bad. I can manage that. I think it's about somewhere near the 7K limit that I've got to put onto the aeroplane. I've travelled before like this, and yeah, look, it's comfortable, not too heavy, and once I add the drink bottle, I found this drink bottle holder on Amazon, which can fit to the shape of any drink bottle container, so that's really handy, so I can just chuck that on there. So anyway, I'm off on an adventure. You won't hear from me for a couple of weeks, but in the meantime, what I thought I'd do to finish this video is to just show you some images from my recent, few years now, Tasmanian adventures, and hopefully inspire you to get out there under the stars and shoot the night sky and landscape. So until I see you in the next video, have a great week. Enjoy Easter. See you later.